Alrighty, welcome to the Get Wealth podcast. My name is Brennan Wiersma. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Today I'm here with Dom Faussette, motivational speaker, career coach, author, radio host, speaker coach. The list goes on. I don't even know if I can list all of them, but yeah, super excited to talk to you today. How are you doing?
Outstanding, man. Thank you. Thank you for we're doing the phone thing. Normally I got cameras, but hey, we're just adapting and overcoming.
Yeah, that's how we do it. So yeah, because we were talking earlier. I just met you from Grant, someone else that I interviewed. So if any of the subscribers have seen that video, you interviewed him on your radio show,
Right.
About just kind of his business, what he's doing. He's a ranger, what he was doing over there. And so, yeah, I figured I'd reach out, and I was super pumped when you got back to me. So
yeah, man, let's do it. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate that. Yeah, Grant's a good dude. I met him through a buddy of mine who's in Prescott, and then he introduced me to Grant, and Grant came down to the Valley and came on the show, and boom, that's how we connected.
Yeah, now we're here. So yeah, I've got a chance to watch a lot of your stuff. I'm a big fan now.
Thank you, sir.
Kind of cool that I just through that connection, now I have some more content that I can listen to and, hopefully follow up with you on what I'm doing. So
Sweet.
Yeah. So I guess to start off, as far as how you've got to where you are, there's a lot that you've done along the way, and you're a veteran from what I understand.
Yeah.
What was your journey of becoming what you are? Are you primarily a motivational speaker or a coach?
So I'm an executive coach and leadership speaker. I spend a lot of time in the corporate spaces and speak on a couple military installations, and I speak there. And I also speak in the entrepreneur space. But yeah, executive coach and leadership speaker is primarily what I do outside of the radio show.
Awesome. So where did that start? Did you always want to be a motivational speaker?
No, I think not I think. So I'm a firstborn.
Okay.
So motivating or giving leadership instruction is something that I've done since I was a kid, but since my sister and my brothers were born.
Got it.
Then obviously playing sports, that helped out. And then from sports in high school, joined the military, obviously leadership, instruction, discipline, influence, motivation, all that. Any background noise you guys hear? I got painters here. And like I was telling you earlier, I wanted to do this outside because it's gorgeous outside this time of year. The entire block is being trimmed by the trees trimmed by the city. So it is what it is. Here we are. But I got out of the mills. I was K-9 in the Air Force. So obviously a lot of instruction there, giving dogs instruction and then, instruction to troops. And then I got out, became a cop. Once I became a cop, I wanted to find a way to connect with the people on my beat. And the best way that I knew was to go to the high schools or go to the junior highs and start to speak to the kids. Because you go to a domestic violence situation, when a kid there says, hey, that's Officer Faussette, he was in my class 3 weeks ago, it makes my job so much easier because now the parents are like, oh, this guy knows my kid. He can't be that bad. Let me just tone it down in my house. When I saw that to work, I started speaking at a bunch of different schools. And then I started speaking at just little things here and there as a cop. Once I left law enforcement, I jumped into the corporate space, did corporate sales. Obviously, speaking on the phone all day long is extremely important. The in-person speaking, everything sells. Got pretty good at that. Then I jumped into leadership development in the corporate space where I basically worked at a job and they said, hey, can you take this leadership training and train the junior leaders and some of the executives here in our establishment? So that was my job. Got a W-2 job, and that's what I did. I went from company to company doing that. And the last company I was at, I wrote my own book. I started a smaller podcast. Started doing leadership videos on Instagram at Dom Faussette is my Instagram. And I just started to notice I was making an impact. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Never planned on leaving my job. I had a great job. I was happy. I was good. Like I wasn't one of those guys like, I hate my job, I gotta leave. No, I was good. Like I would do that job today. And then somebody just said, hey, why don't you just go do this on your own? You already have coaching clients. You're now getting paid to speak. And it didn't even dawn on me. Like I come from a background of people that just work. Working is just something you do, not being self-employed. And I said, you know what, self-employed? I was like, all right, yeah, I'll think about it. So thought about it. And then I took the leap. Now, was it easy? No, no, like I would not advise anybody be self-employed if you have a decent job, but start, they call it a side hustle. Start doing it on the side, and started doing that. And here we are 4 years later after I left, got a radio show, but on Fox, CBS, NBC, and just my mom.
I'm sorry, I think that last part cut out there. You said your mom. I think that was the last thing I heard.
Yeah, my mantra is change one life.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and that's incredible. And from what I've seen of you, I mean, when you talk, it's like one of the phrases you use a lot is command presence. Like you get the room's attention, and it's, it motivates people and is inspiring to listen to you. When you started as a cop, did you feel like you had some sort of a natural ability to do that to start off with, or was there just like this really big learning curve? How did you go about starting? Because most cops, I imagine, aren't public speakers, right?
No, they're not. I love most cops, and I'm just speaking on my experience with other cops. This is not a general statement,
Okay.
but most cops suck at communication. So it's I kind of started it so the element of surprise. So I'm not a big guy. To me, I'm not big. I'm 200 pounds, 5'11" on a good day, right? Cowboy boots, I'm 6'1", but as a cop, I'm 5'11". I'm wearing tactical. Element of surprise. So you serve a warrant, you're not knocking on the door and just saying, hey, everybody, I'm coming in, hope everybody's dressed, hide everything. No, you kick in the door and people just kind of freeze, and then they'll go for their gun, or they'll go to hide the drugs, or they'll go run. And as I was doing this, you breach after breach after breach, I realized, okay, like command presence, and command presence is a phrase that we use in canine training, but I used it as a cop now at this point. So I'm kicking in the door, surprising people, right? And going back to the reason I said I'm not a big guy, for some reason, suspects, I don't know, they all have these muscles that you can't get at a normal non-prison gym. Like you have to be a tenured criminal to have these muscles, and they're very strong. So element of surprise allows me to go in, and nobody has muscles in their neck, their sternum, and their inner thigh. So if you're close to the door, and I can engage those areas very quickly because we don't have a weapon, like I can't use mine on you. The element of surprise, I'm able to control the situation. Now let's just bring that into speaking. No, I don't punch people that I see in the audience in those three areas, but most speakers are boring. And speaking is, in my opinion, 80% entertainment, 20% education. So I just spoke at a fashion show 2 weeks ago, and it was a fashion show / concert. So we have hip hop artists and fashion, like nobody is there wanting to listen to a guy speak. But my buddy says, hey man, I would love for you to come speak. I get there, I'm like, this is so not my audience. But as soon as I hit the stage, a friend of mine refers to me as a bag full of grenades. When you're speaking, especially on stage, I tell people, go so hard that they Google you. Don't reintroduce yourself. Don't, hey, welcome to the stage, Dom Faussette. I come to the stage like every speaker. Hi, everybody, I'm Dom Faussette. No, that's dumb. You get to the stage and then you just say what you're gonna say. It's the same thing with the news, with podcasts or radio shows. So command presence it's almost like that shock factor. What can you do to get your audience's attention without being a jerk, right? Moving from the heart first and bridging the gap between their minds and their heart to move your mission and your message forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And probably I don't know if it's the most practical way, but kicking indoors, that sure teaches you how to do that in a
if you're
accelerated rate.
Civilian, like you will go to jail. That's a horrible way to learn.
You wouldn't prescribe that to someone to learn to speak? Just kick down some.
Even if you do, if you don't have an actual warrant, like if that's not part of your job, definitely don't do it. It's frowned upon.
Yeah, for sure. So at the point when you decided that you wanted to do it at a career, it was after being a cop already for some time, and then you had started making money first, because someone looking into maybe doing what you do, you can't necessarily just jump right into it. You probably have to start somewhere and kind of build up to where you are.
You start with a job. Have a job first. I had a career. and I was making money in my side business. I'll break it down to you like this. If you have a job and you're thinking about maybe becoming a speaker, or, and I do not like the phrase, but a social media influencer, let's just use that for lack of better words. Okay. Or you have a podcast, you want to write a book, whatever it is, you want to start making money with it first before you leave. And the way you find people, people use excuses, but the way you find time to do that is most people will work like, let's just say a 9 to 5. So you get up probably about 6 a.m., do whatever you're going to do in the morning, and you're at work by 8:30 in preparation for your 9 a.m. start. You're off at 6. Probably 6. You're off by 6 p.m. But by 6 p.m., you are now at home. What I did, I was able to find 2 days in one day. This is how I did it. Everybody has this morning routine. You get up, go to the bathroom, shower, shave, eat, and get out the house. Let's say that is it. When you come home by 6 p.m., you're at home, lay in bed for like 5 minutes. Like take however you would go to bed like that. At night, go to bed like that. Lay there for 5 minutes, get up. If your normal routine is to shower, shave, eat, then at 6 p.m., now at 6:10, I want you to get up, shower, shave, eat. What happens is when you lay down at 6 p.m., you're like, oh, my day is over. But when you lay down and you shower, shave, and eat, your body is like, oh man, so yeah, I guess it felt like it's 6 p.m., but we're doing some 6 a.m. Your mind says we're doing some 6 a.m. stuff. So you get this weird energy, and call it a second wind, and your body starts to prepare for starting a day because it's not sure what's going on because you're breaking habits. So by the time, and then you get dressed the same way you would get dressed if you're going to work. Then you get dressed, but you don't go anywhere. Now you're at home. You go to your kitchen table. If you don't have an office, go to your office, but you go and then you start working, and you just do this for two hours a night. So now from like 6:30 to 8:30, you start working on maybe posting more on social media, getting your podcast ready, reaching out to people, writing curriculum. There's just so many things you can do, but find one thing and do it for 2 hours. If you do that for 2 hours every night for a week, just Monday through Friday, don't use the weekends, you've got 10 hours. Then you got 40 hours in a month. Imagine if you do that for a year, how much you could accomplish to become an influencer and without quitting your job. And then you'll finally start making money, and then you'll make enough money to where you're like, you know what, I can probably quit my job now.
Whoa. I've never thought about it that way. It makes sense when you're doing it in the same way that you would to start the beginning of your day. You just kind of trick your brain into start. Cause everyone has this certain amount of time after they get home from work, but people want to come home and watch TV, or they worked hard all day and then they're not necessarily as motivated. But if you can just trick yourself into thinking, okay, now I'm starting the job for myself, not for somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. So someone who is looking to do that, but doesn't really know what to do in that time frame where they're starting to work for themselves. Like you have this passion, it seems like, for speaking and helping others and teaching, and you're on a radio show and you got all this motivation, but a lot of people probably work for their 9 to 5 and don't know what to do because they don't have this like end goal there or something they're working for. How do you find what you're passionate about or what to do in that time?
It's you're not going to know what you want to do. Like this weekend, I took my Jeep out, and I just got a Jeep Gladiator, and I've never been into trails. Like to me, it's slow. It looks boring. My wife and I race Ducatis. Like that's fast. I have downhill longboard, downhill mountain bike. Those are all fast things in my lane. Like I love those things. And I'm bringing this up because it wasn't until I really got out there, and I'm 10 miles into a 21-mile trail. And I was like, the first 9 miles, I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, who does this? It's slow, it's boring, it's monotonous. We're in Arizona. The scenery is pretty much the same from start to finish. But then I stopped focusing on how fast I wasn't going. And then I started realizing, like, you know what? Like, this is the other end of a spectrum. I'm going extremely slow, climbing rocks with my Jeep and seeing what this vehicle is actually made of. And you're the vehicle. You don't have to be passionate about it when you start. You don't have to, like, it's like a marathon. You don't really enjoy it until you finish. I take that back. I've never ran a marathon. I don't know. 10-mile race, right? You don't enjoy it until you finish. It's like, oh yeah, that was easy. But you're the vehicle. you get into the middle of it, and that's when you start really enjoying it. Because if you start thinking of it as work, then you're never going to enjoy it. Like people think about posting on social media. Oh, it's too much work. Okay, don't freaking do it. Oh, I don't want to do, like, you don't want to do podcasts all the time, right? You don't want to hear from people like me. Hey, bro, sorry, I'm gonna have to cancel because the person that's painting my house messed up my router or my modem, but that's what happened, right? You're like your natural response is not, that's cool, bro. Like that's nobody's natural response, but we're humans. We kind of have to reply that way, right? We have to stop thinking that we're going to find fulfillment in every millisecond, of what we do. So for me, my mantra, change one life every day for the rest of my life. I don't have to like posting, but I know that if I, based off my limited experience on this earth, something that I'm going to post is going to impact at least one person. I'm good. I don't have to go back and check for likes. I don't have to go back and check for comments. I do check for comments because I want to reply within 24 hours, but I don't need to go back and check to validate my existence. So podcasts are free. You're doing them. Posting on social media is free. Reaching out to people is free. You've done that. Did it cost you anything? No. People like, cost time. Not really. You can text somebody and post on social media while you're taking a dump. I mean, at the end of the day, like you're not doing anything while you're there, but scrolling and looking at stuff on social media work while you're there, right? So it's really stop thinking that it's going to fulfill you, right? Now you'll get little, I call it, maybe fairy dust might fall on you once in a blue moon, and it fulfills you because you meet somebody cool, or you get a message from somebody saying you changed their lives. And that's pretty cool. But work is work.
Mhm.
And just move one step in front of you, you'll get there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Kind of going off, like you mentioned what I'm doing here. I've felt pretty fortunate so far because, dude, I'm loving every second. I get to talk to people like you, people like Grant, I mean, all the episodes I've done, there is some sort of, like you were saying, discipline that needs to take place as far as, putting in the work, editing. I'm not a big fan of all that, but something I think people get confused with is you hear this thing of like, do what you love or do what makes you happy. And I think people mistranslate that to, do what feels good, like watch TV,
Right.
or eat the donut, when what I think that really means is when you have something in mind, like, for example, I'm a pilot, I want to be at the airlines one day. There's a lot of studying, and it sucks. Probably most of it honestly sucks, the
90%.
work that goes behind it. But
Right.
I'm actually doing what I want to do. That's the fulfilling part. It's not, doing that instant gratifying feeling.
Right.
Yeah. So as far as how you've been able to, find that passion specifically, like would you say it's teaching people to speak?
I have I have recently found that passion, teaching people to speak. So, and we talked off air. I stuttered since I was 6,
Mhm.
and from elementary school all the way through high school, I had some sort of speech coach. Um, I did not realize that people had a fear of speaking. I mean, I've heard about it, but it I get on stage and I just speak. I don't really think about what I'm going to say. I vibe off the audience, and I can go speak for 45 minutes and I educate. But I've studied speaking since I was 6. It wasn't until my wife said, honey, stop telling people that speaking on stage is easy and that anybody can do it. She's like, I have 2 MBAs, and I race motorcycles and I drive fast cars. I'll do anything, but speaking on stage, I will never do. She's like, my lips turn white. I get scared. And then I started watching people. I'm like, wow, people suck. Like just watching them speak. You don't know what your gift is until you just kind of see outside of yourself, and you just helping people. And then you realize, oh, you're going to pay me how much to teach you how to do this? And when I was in the corporate space, I would be the one that would deliver all the programs. Like my team and I would come together, we'd spend 6 months on a project, and we're talking like very high, like highly educated people. And they're just like, hey, Dom, can you deliver this? I'm like, yeah, you don't have to do any of the work, just deliver it. I'm like, you went to school, why don't you just talk? And then I saw people would literally call out of work to not have to speak. And I'm like, dude, people are actually afraid of talking. But to me, is talk. You and I had a conversation offline. And I was telling you how I practice to be perfect on stage until one day an executive who I spoke in front of his direct reports, he's like, it was a great talk, but it didn't connect with my audience. It was too perfect. He almost gave me permission just to be me. If I stutter on stage, I stutter on stage. But everything I talk about is for the audience. It's not for me. I'm not a fan of me. So going back to your question, I'm passionate about teaching people how to speak. Why? Because it's not speaking, it's communicating, right? So teaching somebody how to communicate past their emotions helps out household, right? How many parents yell at their kids? Why yell when you can just lower your voice, use the inflection in your voice? Like, I don't curse. Why? Because there's too many other words in the English language. And to me, when you curse, it makes you look dumb. And I don't want to unintentionally offend somebody when the end goal of a conversation is to come to an agreement or move the needle forward in one area or the other. So if I can teach somebody to communicate void of emotions and get their point across without making it about them so that they win in communication, I'm excited about that. But I just started getting excited about teaching people to talk is probably this time last year. Prior to that, leadership development, but I noticed all of my messaging was about communication, how to talk, right? How to change the inflection in your voice, how to tell a joke, how not to, just all these things, how to date, how to meet a girl. Like, it's easy. If I can teach a dog to do it, I can teach a human to do it. Dogs are easier to train than people. I'll just throw that out there.
Speaking is something that people can use in every career, right?
Every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like public speaking, but delivering communication, like you're saying, it can be directly applicable to probably most people, would you say, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. My mom used to use a phrase, speak so that a blind man can see. Right? Many times when we're trying to convey a message, we overtalk, we use big words, or we repeat ourselves. If we just speak so that a blind man can see, and the reason why she said that was you might only have 10 seconds to get a message across before you breathe your last breath. And it wasn't until I became a cop where I saw people who, hey, some things got squirrely, feces hit the oscillating rotor. I see somebody their last breath, and then I'm very effective in my communication. Why? Because people don't have they may not die. That's a little extreme, but nobody has all day to listen to you. So get to the point. And how do we get there without making it about us?
Yeah. Where do you think that struggle to communicate stems from? Is it insecurity that people have, or is it just a lack of vocabulary? Where do you think people get stuck up with the most?
So both of those are accurate, but the lack of vocabulary, I say, ranks probably fifth or sixth. People are afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being judged. People compare themselves to so many different people. I mean, I used to, long time ago, I would compare myself to the way certain people talk. As of 10 plus years ago, when the guy told me that I could be myself, I'm good with Dom Faussette. But people are very, I mean, look at the reason people don't do videos. I've had clients pay me a lot of money, and part of the training is do videos. They will not do them. They don't want to be judged. Getting on stage, like just to stand on stage in front of audience, let's say an audience of 50 people that you don't know. For a lot of people, that's uncomfortable. They don't want to be judged. So it starts with being comfortable with who we are. And you start there just by doing videos. I tell my clients, do a 60-second video on Instagram, probably 4 or 5 times a week, and you'll start to get comfortable, because people think, well, what if this and what if that? Like, people in general are just nice. I've had one in all my videos, I've had one negative comment, one. And the guy says, one of my videos, I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. And he's like, you're an ex-cop, you should know better. I mean, he went off, whole paragraph. I'm like, he's got some problems in his life. But that was the only one. I've done thousands of videos. So people just need to start getting comfortable with who they are. And the way you do that is by acknowledging other people's existence. When you go to maybe 7-Eleven, give a compliment to the attendant. When you go out to a restaurant, give a compliment to the people that you're around. Start complimenting yourself, and you'll start to feel comfortable with who you are as a person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And looking back on myself, I mean, right now I don't do a lot of speaking in front of people, so I'm not really sure how good I am. I might be okay, but for example, when I was little, I would do. There's a couple stories of when I just had. It seemed like I was a different person because I think it was when I was probably like 4 years old. I don't really even remember this, but I was at this wedding and
Right.
it was my mom's uncle or something, but there was like a couple hundred people in the audience and people were going up there and talking and saying something about the bride and groom um, and giving their 2 cents. And for some reason, I had the urge to go up and I talked to the entire crowd about how much I liked my slingshot, and I had just that's confidence
But
that I would
love
not assume that I would have, but
it. They love.
apparently I did that.
I could imagine they clapped or they were just like
Yeah, I
it
mean, some little kid,
was
but
a thing, right?
yeah, but it just shows that the less you like, I probably was not even concerned about what they were thinking about me. I was just so excited about my slingshot, I had to go.
Exactly. I'd be excited about a slingshot as well. But what you bring up is a valid point. When you get in front of an audience that you don't know and you talk about something that you're passionate about, the audience is just excited. Like they're going to feed off your energy. They're just excited to see you up there smiling, talking about something that like touches you here. And at 4 years old, you're like, I got this slingshot, and like you could talk about it for days. Like you're excited about your future self and what that looks like as a pilot. I'm sure you could talk about it straight for
Yeah.
30 minutes, right? Outdoor activities, like whatever your extracurricular activities are. I tell people bring those things into your speech because it makes people see that you're a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, what are some of your hobbies, or what's one of your hobbies that you're like, yeah, I'm just real dialed in on this?
Oh, well, there's aviation. So I've been doing that for probably 4 years now, and I am an instructor now. Actually, as of like a couple days ago, I just got my
Oh,
license. So,
congratulations.
yeah, so that's
That's
something I feel
pretty,
confident about.
that's, you need to update your Instagram where it says aviation instructor if you haven't done so already.
Yeah, I actually haven't. It's good. It's a good point.
That's
There's,
everyone can't say they're an aviation instructor.
It's been a long time coming, but yeah, so there's that. And as far as hobbies, I weight lift, but that's just kind of like taking vitamins to me. I don't know if that's something I'm like super crazy about.
Right.
Basketball I did in high school, so yeah.
Okay. So those are things that you can bring. Like if you were to talk on leadership, or the school that you're at now, even aviation. Like if let's say you were doing a 15-minute talk on aviation, you literally can bring in weightlifting, right? There's something, because gravity is gravity. So what goes up, right? You can talk about basketball, right? There's things that you could talk about your podcast as it relates to aviation, right? Have you ever listened to your first podcast, like the first one you've ever done?
Yeah, I did. It's I don't like to listen to it.
It's rough, isn't it? You're like, oh.
But I keep it up there so people can see me get better.
Oh yeah, see the growth. But like now you're laughing at it. You and I offline were talking about, I remember the first time I did radio. I don't know about you, your first interview for podcast. Like I was sweating. I was talking like a million miles a minute. I was so nervous. And like you said, leave it up there so people can see your growth. Like you're pretty calm and cool right now, and you'll only get better. So, and I'm bringing all this up because people can take whatever there is that they're passionate about in life and bring it into their speech, because if you can talk about it with a smile, your audience is going to love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, because when you were talking about something that, like for example, when you go take a test, you're really nervous if you haven't studied for it. But if it's something that, you've been doing this for a while, like the back of your hand, it's a lot easier to speak with confidence about something that you're passionate and understand well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And from what I've watched as well, you're big on leadership and coaching that as well. And I think in some shape, everyone has the capacity to be a leader, whether it's in their work or just in their family, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about teaching someone to develop as a leader? And, what are some of those characteristics that people should develop?
So to me, leadership is influence. Well, this is a quote from John Maxwell. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you can't lead from home, you have no business leading, outside. And the purpose of me saying that is so that a person can be the same person they are at home that they are at work. Oftentimes leaders will have like this horrible marriage at home, or may not be the best parents, or curse and yell and do things that they wouldn't do in the boardroom. And my mom, I heard she was talking to somebody one day, and she's talking to a couple, and they were having some issues. I don't know why they were at the house, but they were. And she said to the wife, or she said to the husband, if you talk to your wife the way you talk to your boss, you guys would not have any relationship problems. And I was like, what? And I was like 13 when I heard this. I'm like, even at 13, I knew that was clutch. And I didn't have a boss at the time, but I put the two and two together. And if you think about it, like, the reason we don't snap on our boss and slam doors and throw things is because we'll go to jail or at least get fired. Like, it negatively impacts our income. So when you come home, no matter what's going on, no matter how, like, if you have a girlfriend or something, even you have roommates, no matter what they say, talk to them the way you would talk to your boss. My boss, I've had bosses that piss me off, but I don't go back and just punch them in their face. I'll ask, what was it that made you say that? Like, when you ask somebody a question and call them to the carpet, most people don't like offending somebody and then having to answer for it. And then the other thing that I use as it relates to leadership, and I got this from K9, but most people have owned a dog, hopefully. Because there's just something that you feel when you have a pet. But let's say you wake up in the morning and your dog threw up or crap on the ground, right? And you're running out the door for work, you're late, you picked up the poop or whatever you did, and you make it to work, you're a couple minutes late, you're a little pissed, but you get to work, your day's fine. When you come home, you open your door, if your dog's not kenneled and has free reign of the house, you come in the house, the dog just runs right up to you. And the dog's, I would say smiling, tongue out their mouth, jumping around like I have a Frenchie. He jumps around and he jumps in my clothes, and no matter what I'm wearing, I don't care if he just came in from the doggy door and has mud on his paws and his fur. I don't care, right? In that moment, I don't even remember the fact that he pooped on the floor when he wasn't supposed to. He's too old for that. I'm just excited that he loves me. So when somebody upsets you, look at them. Look at them as a dog, not use this scenario. So if you're just tuning in at this moment, go back like 30 seconds, but rub them behind their ears. Don't touch them, but say the things that would make them wag their tail or smile, right? We all have the power to communicate love. And if we not focus on what happened yesterday or last week, whatever that negative experience was with that person, just learn to forgive and just acknowledge them in the moment for them just being alive on earth. Because I guarantee you, if you had to be at their funeral, you would say, I wish I had have, or I wish I had of. So just acknowledge them in the moment, because at the end of the day, look at all of the times we've been pissed off, or all the times we've been upset. Hasn't cost us any money. 9 times out of 10, we're still with that person, or we're still friends with that person. So it hasn't cost us a relationship. It's just a moment. Stop expecting people to be perfect. Just like you don't expect your pet or your dog to be perfect. They make mistakes, you forgive, you still go outside and play fetch. Same thing with humans. Go outside and play fetch.
Yeah, that's awesome. And those are, when you think of a leader, sometimes people probably only think of, being the best at something, or, going out and being the most charismatic person. But the examples you're giving now are really about showing compassion and leading with some sort of empathy and understanding, because that, and as a result, makes people more prone to, listening to what you're saying. And like you, for example, you're a perfect example of what that is, as far as how you're communicating with people, like just taking the time to come on my podcast. That shows me that, this, hopefully one day my podcast will be big and get a lot of views and direct people to you. But like right now, there's not a lot to show for what, like, I can bring you. You're helping me.
Even if nobody's listening, even prior to the show, you and I talked, give you some information about speaking. Maybe you picked up something from this podcast. Again, it goes back to change one life every day for the rest of my life. I'm not trying to chase a podcast with 1 million views. I would much rather talk on a podcast that has 10 people listening than a podcast that has 1 million, because I know those 10 people are dedicated to you.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, because right now let's think it's like 66 subscribers. I think most of them are people that I directly know right now. I'm not really reaching people that are just coming across my videos on YouTube. So yeah, that's a
And
good
they
point.
trust you. So if they trust you and you bring somebody on, basically you're saying, hey, everybody, all my 66 friends, I vouch for this guy. Listen to him.
Yeah,
Much rather connect with your 66 people than 66,000 people.
that's awesome. You wrote a book, Think, Lead, React.
Think,
Think, React, Lead.
aren't enough.
Is that book talking about your experience so far with speaking and leadership? Kind of, when did you decide that you wanted to write that, and what are some of the main points that people can expect if they were to decide to read it?
You know, I wrote the book because I had everything I wanted in life up to this point. I didn't have it, like, I'm not Grant Cardone. At the time, I didn't have it. At the time, like I have it now, I don't. God or a jet, but I grew up pretty poor. So I had the things, right? My wife, I mean, at the end of the day, my wife and I race Ducatis. Like, as a dude, that would be like you marrying somebody who's also a pilot, and you guys just go out and you just do the pilot thing. Like, that would be totally cool. I like motorcycles like that. So to me, I had everything, but there was a moment where it didn't mean anything. Like, it didn't fulfill me the way that I thought that it was. Like, the great salary, good job, hot wife, you guys do all the things, but it didn't touch me here. So it was, the title of the book is Think, React, Lead, when success and accomplishments aren't enough. So what's on the other side? Like, once you've gotten, and I'm just using you as an example, you've gotten your pilot's license, you're a pilot for a major airline, you like, nothing, everything is perfect on paper, but you're just like, there's got to be more. So my book is for the people where they're just thinking, there's got to be more. Like, what is next? And it was for me, it was really speaking and traveling and being able to speak, because I don't care. Okay, you race on a couple tracks with your motorcycle, or you go to Jamaica and speak, or you're asked to be on Fox and NBC to do your thing. But it's like, okay, that's cool in the moment, but it's Monday at 10 a.m. What about Monday at noon? Like, where did the fulfillment come from? And a lot of people will hit a certain age in life where they chase, and they hit the pinnacle, and they're just like, this is it. Thought it was going to be better than this. And it's not. So really bridging the gap between your mind and your heart is the focus of the book. And I'm a dude. I write like a dude. It's big letters. It's easy to read. It's 100 pages. It's a quick read. So, and then there's a workbook in the back. So it's all inclusive, and it'll help somebody move. I would strongly suggest anybody read it. I mean, I don't make a lot of money from it, but especially at the end of this year, going into 2021, there's a lot of confusion out there. This is a simple read. It'll help them get you dialed in. And Think, React, Lead. That was my original mantra for myself, think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead. Like, I would say that to myself every day I'd go into work. Think as an executive. So be able to make decisions quickly, react like a soldier, right? Move, like, make a decision and implement. Lead, be a person of influence, because it's not always about me. And that's where Think, React, Lead came from.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll put that in the description, and then when I do the posts on social media about it, I'll emphasize that people to go check that out. To kind of piggyback off of that topic of once you get to that point and kind of how that book is supposed to help you.
Yeah.
Do you think that like, a lot of times you'll see people it just seems like they never stop, even when they have it all, like The Rock, always doing another movie. But how much more could they want? Like, what's the end game for them? But it kind of seems like they don't have it. That's why they're always doing the next thing. Do you think there's a point where you should be able to get to where you feel like, okay, I've done enough? Or is that a good premise to have, of just always going for something else?
I don't think there's ever a such thing as enough. Like, when I first started, it's like, be an author, have a podcast, speak on stages. Cool. Now I'm an author. I have a podcast. I have a radio show. I speak on stages. I speak on the news. I'm a voice actor, right? I don't know what's going to come next, but the more I work, the more opportunities come my way. Like, I just got finished talking about, spoke at a fashion show where there's a bunch of hip hop artists. Like, I'm the only speaker there. not an entertainer. Like these guys are in like just their outfits alone, $5,000 to $10,000 worth of stuff. You see in the front, you know, I pull up in a Jeep. These guys got Rolls Royces, Ferraris, and just all of the things. And I'm just I'm a jeans and cowboy boot kind of guy. So I just showed up, jeans and cowboy boots. I had the most floral shirt that I could find because I knew it would be that kind of environment. But I just did me. And I just told when I hit the stage, I said, hey, look, let me explain something to you. I'm not here to motivate, but I'm going to do what I do best, and that's do me. And they were like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, hey, stop clapping. Like, that's not where it starts. Like, I'm just letting you guys know, lower your freaking expectations, because I'm not singing, not rapping. I'm not going to spin. I'm not a fashion guy. But they appreciated it. And then afterwards, like, pretty decent sized influencers came to me and they're like, I really needed to hear that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Like, you never know who you're going to impact. So to do more, look, I will probably be acting eventually, right? I'm no fitness guy. Like, I don't have abs, so I'm not going to model. That is totally off the table. Maybe it's like a bald black guy in a Geico commercial. I might do something like that, but you just don't know what your opportunities are. So I don't think it's about going. I think, like, because you brought up The Rock, his work ethic prior to being an actor, right, in the gym was just ridiculous. His work ethic as a football player in college, ridiculous. And I don't think you can change work ethic. Yeah. Like, if you already have a dialed in work ethic, I don't think you can slow that down. Like, I can't slow my work ethic down. Do I have moments where I have to force myself to stop? Like when I go on vacation, I take all my cameras, my drones, but I went to St. Martin about a month ago and my wife had to remind me, babe, just relax. Yeah. And I had a massage on the beach. And that's the first time I ever had that. I was like, oh, this is what relaxation feels like. Oh, this feels great. But some of us, we just run and gun. And for the person that's listening that is all about that hustle, grind, run and gun, your mindset can only take so much for so long before you burn yourself out. So it's not that you need to quit, but understand that there's physical health, you manage that. There's mental health, you manage that. There's emotional health, you manage that. Like, have a balance in the areas so you don't burn yourself out. And we only see, like, if you look at my social media and my stories, it looks like I'm going. That's what people say. Like, Dom, you're always moving. No, I don't. If I posted when I was sleeping, nobody, who cares? Like, nobody wants to see that stuff. So just be mindful of what people see and what they digest as actual. Yes, it's actual, but it's momentarily actual. It's not there 24/7.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the points you made there was really good with the balance portion of it, because I know for myself, the rest and everything is required, even if sometimes you don't realize that. But also, and you could probably speak to this as well, if there's a period of time where you just you're not doing anything, you kind of feel like, you know, part of the grind, the hustle is a fulfilling aspect as well. Whereas if you're just, you know, if you feel like you're not doing enough, that can also be too far in the other way, where it's turning into like a lack of motivation. Sometimes the grind is kind of what is fulfilling in some ways.
It is very fulfilling, but what people will fail to realize, if they were to look at what they've done over the last 20 hours, most of it's busy work.
Yeah.
Most of it is. I tell people to look at, if you have an iPhone, I don't know about any other phone, but the iPhone will tell you how long you spent on social media.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like to look at that sometimes. Like, I hate wasting time, and that's the worst one for me.
Yeah, right. Oh, my usage is up from last week. What was I doing? Oh, I was fine in the airport. That's what I was doing last week. But we're just busy, right? But if you were to take out all the busy work, let's say a person works and they're working on like building a business. Let's just say you only work 5 hours a day. You can get more in a dedicated 5 hours than you can in 10 hours of your mind just going all over the place. So if you work from 6 a.m., let's just use 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to 11 a.m., dedicated 5, that's 5 in 10 days, that's 50 hours. So you're looking at 100 hours a month not working the weekends. Like I typically will work 9 to 5 and I don't work weekends. But when I first started, bro, I was all over the place. I was like Saturday, Sunday, like, and I don't know why I use that voice. No clue why I use that voice, but I was just going and going and going. And guess what was getting done? Absolutely nothing. And then I follow like musicians and their work ethic. And I was listening to an artist talk about Eminem. It was Akon. He said years ago, he got invited to Eminem's studio. So he said he partied the night before. He shows up at like 11:30 in the morning. And 30 minutes later, Eminem leaves and goes, like, didn't even say anything, just left and went to lunch. Comes back at 1. And they start to work. And then 5 o'clock hits. Eminem just leaves. And then he comes back the next day. He said, all right, Akon, I'll see you at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Because Akon was thinking, we're going to work into the night. We're going to create all these tracks and do this thing. Eminem comes in the next day at 8 o'clock sharp. And he's like, dude, are we going to work? He said, yeah, I work from 8 to noon. I take my lunch at noon, go hang out with my daughter. I come back at 1. I work from 1 to 5 and I leave. He said, music is a business. It's what I do. It's not who I am. And I can accomplish in these 40 hours. I treat it like a job. In these 40 hours, I can accomplish the same thing and have more energy than I can trying to do it till 3 and 4 in the morning. Mm-hmm. So I started like, wow, that's genius. I'm like, if Eminem can work a 9 to 5, so can Dom Faussett. And guess what? I do a lot of cool stuff on the weekends now, right? I was listening to somebody the other day. They said, when you have fun and leave it there. When you work and leave it there. Stop trying to bridge the two. Like, how many times have you gone out or heard people, hey, let's go to a great networking event? Like, nah, bro, if I'm out there riding my motorcycle, I don't want to network. I want to go and just have fun. I don't want to talk about leadership. I want to go have fun. I'm going skateboarding. I don't want to motivate. I just want to go have fun, right? Yeah. Same thing in the airplane. You try to talk about your podcast while you're in the air. Yeah. Things go wrong pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I 100% agree, especially when you're putting it in that perspective of, someone like a prolific artist like Eminem taking a lunch. That's, I think a lot of people can benefit from that. I don't want to take too much of your time. I do have some questions that people were asking on social media. Let's see here. How much do you prepare for giving a speech?
So not a fair question. Like, my life is preparation. What I do Monday through Friday is preparation. Who I am on stage is who I am in the shower. It's who I am at the gym. It's who I am at the grocery store. It's who I am at fun with my son. So on one hand, I don't sit in my office and write out notes, right? I don't. But on the other hand, everybody can't wing it because their life doesn't match what they're wanting to talk about. And I don't talk about, the speed of sound as it relates to the speed of light from here to I would have to study for that. But for the stuff that I talk about command presence. I talk about leadership development. I talk about think, react, lead, how to engage an audience while you're speaking, how to have a better, be a better spouse, how to be a better parent, right? These are things that I'm living day to day. So to answer that question, my life is preparation. And the way I think is I need to be able to be ready. If somebody should be able to call me right now and say, Dom, can you run up to Prescott and I'm going to pay you $5,000 and speak to an audience for 2 hours? Yes. Can you be there by 1? That's 3 hours from now. Yes, I can do that. And I'll be the best speaker they've ever heard in their entire life. That's how I think. It's like fighting, right? Like, you train and then you operate off of muscle memory when you actually have to do it. When somebody checks you in front of your family at the grocery store and they threaten your wife right in front of you, you don't say, I'll be right back in 2 weeks. Let me get my training on and I'll come right back. Yeah. No. And then that's a horrible example.
No, I like it. That makes sense.
Not to be violent, but yeah. It's a natural thing. So to answer your question, I don't prep because my life is prep.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way of thinking about it. Because, if you know the stuff, it's just a matter of delivering it at that point.
Right. Like you as a pilot, if somebody says, "Hey, can you take control of the plane?" You know what? Give me a couple hours. Let me read up on some things. I got like, no, that does not work.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Next question would be, uh, what is the trick to influencing an audience? No.
I would say the trick is a couple of them. Wow factor, right? 80% entertainment, 20% education. Be yourself. When you get on stage, don't reintroduce yourself, right? You're not Jay-Z. There's no need to reintroduce yourself. And the way that sounds is the MC will say, "Welcome to the stage, Dom Faussette." Most speakers will say, "Hey everybody, I'm Dom Faussette." Not that they sound that dumb like Big Bird from Sesame Street, but you get the gist of what I'm talking about. And every time you speak, you want to make them smile, make them laugh, make them think. Some talks, you make them smile, make them laugh, make them think, make them cry. And that's a flow. You make them smile, make them laugh, make them think, make them smile, make them laugh, make them think. And listen to how you listen to music. Music has beats. In a beat, there's multiple beats within a beat that allows you to enjoy what it is that you're listening to. If it was just boom, 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 be like, I'm not like, who would buy that track? Nobody's going to use it. It's horrible. But there's a lot of beats in music. Speaking is nothing more than music. You're engaging a person's mind, their emotions, right? Their heart. You're engaging how they think about themselves, and you don't stay on the same topic or subject for too long a time. And you change the inflection in your voice. So if I were to say, this is how a lot of speakers are: A, B, C, D, E, F. That's how a lot of speakers are. Very monotone. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you know what? I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Like that, that's how you engage an audience to have a greater influence on them. And when you're finished, you're finished. Go. Don't. And we all know, no, we don't all know. Can you hear me? Don't say that. Just assume that they can, right? These are speaker no-nos. Don't ask if they can hear you. Don't mention the lights. Don't tell them that, the lights are bright. I don't know if you can see me. No. As soon as you start talking, you just go. That engages confidence and command presence to an audience.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was like 10 good tips all at once right there.
Perfect.
One of the questions I always like to ask is if you have a book you've read that you would recommend. I know you wrote a book, so obviously that one, but are there any other ones that you?
Oh yeah. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I've heard of that. Okay.
Like clutch. Whatever you are into, just from a religious standpoint, if you're going to be there, right? So if you say you're Muslim, then you need to read the Quran. If you say you're Christian, you need to read the Bible. If you say, whatever you are, and you say you are that thing, read the thing that goes along with that, because there's values and there's stories and there's things that you can implement into your daily life. There was another one. The greatest. There was a sales book. Disregard. Obviously, okay. It was. But how to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Clutch.
Perfect. All right. Well, I guess I have it on video, so I can just come back and listen to it. But yeah, I've been meaning to get that one. I've heard other people recommend that as well. Yeah. I guess, and then to close out here, I always like to ask, because it's the Get Wealth podcast, how do you define wealth? What's your definition of wealth?
To me, wealth is like what you feel on the inside. And the reason, so wealth, success, some people will say they're synonymous. Success is a feeling, right? It is not monetary. Wealth, I was listening to a guy who was a doctor and at one point in time had the Ferraris, the big house, and he's known as a guy in Newport. I think it's Newport Beach. He just rollerblades up and down the beach like every single day. He has a very small 1-bedroom studio, and he gets up and he rollerblades and he says, I've never been happier. Like, I don't need the Ferraris. I don't need the big practices. He said, no, I have a couple patients here and there. I live here and I rollerblade most of my time. So it's really finding out what it is that you enjoy in life. And that will change as you develop, and then doing that thing. Because if you have all the money in the world and you can't enjoy life, for example, one of my close family members had a friend that shot himself. And my close family member he was the executor of the estate, and he found out this guy had an account that said Play Money, and there was over $1 million in this account titled Play Money. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, if I had over $1 million in an account that said Play Money, not thinking suicide, so not my thing. But I wasn't in his shoes. But that goes to tell me he had the house in, right next to the ocean. The garage went down, filled with all Porsches. Like on paper, he was living a life, but inside, he was dying inside. So wealth is doing what you do that puts a smile on your face and still adds value to those around you.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because that just shows that you can do that right now. You don't need to, wait till you're at the end of your career with having the tangible things that you want to get. You can literally figure out how to do it when you figure out what's important and what's making you wealthy at that point.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Dom, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
How can people find you if they want to go binge watch all your stuff like I did?
You can find me on Instagram, Think React, disregard Instagram at Dom Faussette. YouTube is Think React's Lead. But my Instagram is typically where I do all my stuff, and it kind of branches out from there. Got the old link tree set up there. So Instagram at Dom Faussette, and then my YouTube is Think React Lead.
Amazing. All righty. Dom Faussette, everybody. Get wealthy.